You can see I passed inspection right there. Alrighty, that is one panel completely wired. And I'm just gonna pull like that.
The last thing I'm gonna be doing is putting all these together in the breaker box here. There's a 125 amp box, and I'll go over this in detail from breakers here, to the bus bar, to the ground bar there, to the neutral bar, right back is there, you can see that. So, that's to come another day. Echo! All right, folks, as you can tell on all of the drywall, all of the compound is up, it is sanded, and most of it's painted. My wife is doing the rest of the painting here, but it is time to finish the wiring. So that's all of the switches and all of the receptacles. And I made a deal with the contractor. I'm going to be doing the rest of this electrical finish. Already have my permit, so let's hop to it. So on my hand railing here, I have all of my tools, the receptacles I'm using, my little Wago connectors, and don't worry about looking at all of these for what brands they are. I've got everything in the description below. So how I like to start off wiring, I'm not gonna start with the switches. I like to start with the receptacles. So right up here on my loft, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 on one run. This is all 12 gauge wire, so I am using all 20 amp receptacles, and I also have 20 amp GFCIs. That's very important that you do not use 15 amp. That's a violation of National Electric Code, at least here in the United States. So what I like to do is I like to place everything out that I'm going to need. Then all that I have to do is I just go from station to station and knock them out. Let's hop to it. All right, so closer look at a couple of these J boxes. It depends on who your drywall finisher is. They get a little overzealous with all of this drywall mud here. I mean, look, it's just chipping apart, right? So the first thing you have to do after the drywall is all sanded down, I mean, look, that's really smooth to the touch, ready for paint, is you have to take a utility knife and you have to clear all of this off so you can get your receptacles and your faceplates on. So I'll go ahead and do that. You know, another trick is you can just take your utility knife and you can get one of the blades out of it like this. You gotta push out like that. Once you have it out, then you can go like this. You can go just like that. So that's perfectly flush to that surface right there. We're gonna just a little bit more off. All right, once you have all of your drywall mud taken off your J-box, you can go ahead and pull your wires out. All right, so you can see I've got my hot on the right, I have my neutral or common on the left, and down here at the bottom left, that's my ground. Now this is pretty standard or typical, I'll call it, for North American wiring. It doesn't matter if you have a GFCI or a regular receptacle, this is typically how you wire, or best practice I'll call it. So these are a little bit too long, you don't need them to be this long, but I'm just gonna trim a little bit off. Some people like to use wire strippers like this, but I found in all my wiring that when I'm stripping and I'm doing that with my wrist, it really started to hurt after a while. So I've got one of these. This is a wire stripper. So all that I have to do is
grab it like that, and then I can twist and pull out. So this is just a lot easier for me. It's personal preference. Of course, right there you see all the wire gauges and all the sizes, and stripper up here at the top. It's all personal preference, whatever you're most comfortable with. This is just what I like. So I'm going to go right here to 12, and you want about 3/4 of an inch out. So I'm spinning around my wire. Once again, this is 12 gauge, and I'm just gonna pull like that. And that's how easy it is. At least with this wire stripper, that's how easy it is. So now I've got the ends of my wire. What do I do now? On North American wiring, this is your hot terminal, this is your common or your neutral, and this is your ground on the bottom. Your ground is usually a green screw or a green terminal right here. Your hot is normally gold, and your neutral or common is usually silver. Now, this is the very first receptacle in the circuit. So per NFPA 70 and per NEC for North America, I have to use a GFCI to protect the breaker. So if any of the other plugs on this leg or this branch of the circuit trip, it will go to this and it will not trip the breaker itself. So when you turn this over on the back, it's actually upside down here, but you'll see that there's load for these and there's line for these. So this is what it means. Right here, this is upside down, but the line comes to the GFCI and the load goes from the GFCI. Once again, line is power 2, that's the incoming. Load right here, that is going downstream. You can also see right there, it says GFCI protected. I'll try to focus that as best I can for you guys. It says GFCI protected. That's on the load, okay? This is the line. And these are usually mounted upside down for either safety reasons or for hospital reasons. So if any piece of equipment falls, that piece of metal, it won't hit the hot and it won't hit the neutral or the common. It hits the ground first, and that's not energized. So there won't be a spark. At least that's my interpretation. So usually, since you have your line at the top here and your load at the bottom, what best practice or common practice is to put your incoming power to these top 2 terminals right here. And your downstream power is going exactly as it says, downstream, and you're going to your other receptacles or to your other switches, however you have it wired. So let's hop to it. Okay, this wire here is that back there, as you can see right here. This is going to this J box. So this is going to be my line, and this here, you can see that goes downstream. So this is going to be my load, okay? So I'm gonna spin these tops, and I go up on the black and you go down on the bottom. I'll show you right now. Now you can see I gave that a kick right there. So this is twisted just a little bit. I'll show you why in a second. It's a lot easier to get those wires on these terminals when you have them kicked. So that's both of the hot. Let's go ahead and do the neutral or the common. fish you through, just like that. Yep, yep. And now I'm pulling that. Yep, beautiful. Now this is likely the most important part of putting any wire on any terminal. The most important part is spinning the terminal screw the direction that this is curved right here. So for example, I will be turning that'd be counterclockwise there. Okay, you want this right here, you want that little hook to tighten. You don't want it to loosen, you want it to tighten. So right here, when I'm spinning this, now you see it fell in just a little bit. Right there. That fell in a little bit easier, and that is a picture perfect terminal where that ground screw is, right there. So I'm spinning this clockwise, and the wire is actually getting a little bit tighter. See, right there, perfect, perfect. It's getting tighter because that is the correct direction that I have it. Okay, now we have the ground up, and let's go ahead and do our neutral. So I'm going to start from the bottom up. It helps seat these a little bit better when you tilt these receptacles to get some of these wires in. So I'm going to take you and pop you in just like that. I need to take just a little bit more of that insulation jacket off. Okay, now it ought to fit like a glove. Beautiful, beautiful. It's exactly what you want. Now another thing to keep in mind is you pull the wire up while you push the plug down, and while you're doing that, you screw the terminal screw in just like this, and that tightens the wire to a perfect torque underneath while it's touching that receptacle. You don't need these death tight, but a good snug will do. Okay, let's do the top one now. There we go, got him. That is a perfect seat right there. Okay, hold you. Perfect. Now, we're going to do the hot. And I'm gonna go from top down on this side. And once again, the top, that's incoming power. The bottom, that is power going downstream. There we go. Perfect, perfect. Once again, this is 12 gauge wire, so this is pretty stiff. Okay, let's pop him in. Just like that, perfect. Okay, now we've got our whole thing wired up. All we have to do is push it back into the J-box. The easiest thing that I found is you get your wires up, and then you get your wires down like that. And then you can push the whole thing back into your J-box. Just like that. Alrighty. Now when you're pushing it back in, be careful you don't pinch any of your terminals here, any of your other wires. All that you do is line up the screws. All right, that is pretty firm right there. So it's one down, and once again, this is a GFCI. All the rest of them, they're just regular plugs. And the final step, you take a decorator plate, line up your holes on your decorator plate, just like that. Just a good snug, that's all you need. Now this is ready for electrical inspection. Now I've got 7 more to do, so let's hop to it. So let's pull our wires out. And this is what I'm going to be used. These are 20 amp tamper resistant Levitons, and ground right here, neutrals right here, hot's on the right. Let's hop to it. So let's do our wire trimming. Take about 3 inches off the ground. Curves up on the right. Right there, the kick that I make, that makes it a lot easier. Right there, you can see that. Makes it a lot easier when you're putting it on those terminals. And if I had to guess, it's probably about 30 degrees. From see that one, it's perfectly straight. And now after I spin them down, and now we kick it. And now you can clearly see right there that angle that I make. And once again, it's probably about 30 degrees off if I had to put a number to it. Okay. So, power from, so that's downstream, right there. Good. Okay, power 2, bend you, get you right in there, perfect. Flip them over, and power 2, that's this one right here. There we go. And just to show you guys, basically, this is how it should look, just like that. This is perfectly seated underneath that terminal. This one almost the same after I tighten him up. Okay, and that's picture perfect. That's exactly how it should be. I'll try to do a zoom in on this. So right there, once again, that's picture perfect. That's very close to perfect, and that's very close as well. So then all that you do is you bend your wires, you get these 2 screws, and you put them into your J-box here. After that, your cover, and you're done. I mean, this is really simple. Just about anyone can do this. Bend your wires, bend your wires. All right, just like before, our final step is taking your little cover plate, get out the plastic, and pop it on. Then we're done. So I'm not sure if it's coming across on camera, but these J-boxes are really, they're just recessed into the drywall. And I'm not sure why the electrician did that. And maybe he was just thinking it's gonna be close enough and I'll just deal with it when I get to the finish. For right now, he was a younger guy and maybe he hasn't been doing this a while, I'm not sure. But I'm going to be using these extender boxes right here. And once again, it'll be in the description below, but you only get these from Home Depot, or at least that's where I can find them in my area. So I'm gonna pop this off and put my extender box on and then see if that helps me out. The extender box, they come with much longer bolts. So make sure you use the bolts that come with the extender box. Beautiful. Now, very important. A lot of people think that once you have a receptacle connected, you cannot put a extender box on it. Those people are wrong. This is how you do it. You go like that, you go like that, then you move your wires, you bend them, okay? It's that easy. Then you fish that through, and you're done. Now I just have to get my top one in. All right, and place your bets below if this is gonna work. Let's find out here. Get you, all right. Might have just a little too much wire here to work with. We'll find out about that. Start with the bottom. Hey, now that is beautiful. Make sure he is straight up and down. Yep, it's pretty close. Finish up by hand so I don't over torque the potatoes out of this. Cover plate. Yep, that's a good snug. That is picture perfect right there. All right, so this is the final one I'm working on here. So of course I've only got 3 wires to play with. So black, my hot, my neutral, and my ground. So what I'm going to do on my receptacle here, the bottom 2 terminals, this one and this one, I'm just gonna screw them in tight just to show that I know this is the end of the run. And I'm not sure, but it may be a violation of code to leave these open if you only have the top 2 terminals with a wire in it. So let's get this done. Now remember that kick right there. That's very important. And if you can't remember which way to kick the wire, always kick it towards the receptacle, so towards the center of the box.
Cool. All right, so I got the GFCI done. I have to go get another plate for him to extend that out. He's done, he's done, he's done, he's done, he's done, and he's done. So this garage, we are getting her done.
Nice thud.
Dud.
Yeah, if you do that, no. If you do that, then you see mommy.
Up the nose.
Oh.
Back to wiring. Another way to tell a 15 amp receptacle from a 20 amp receptacle is this little cut in the side that the 20 amps have. Of course, right here, if you really zoom in, you'll see this one says 15 amp 125. And this one says 20 amp 125. So just a quick heads up. These are only gonna go for my lights. They're gonna go right there underneath my workshop. Gonna have some shop lights down there. But other than that, every single plug or receptacle in my garage is going to be a 20 amp. This is something that I do to all receptacles I install that are not tamper resistant. So just an added sense of security. This isn't electric code in North America that you have to, but it's just a good idea to cover all these terminals. So I went ahead and did it, and these are going to be all that are not tamper resistant. Let's back to it. All right, that is 4 more down and I think 17 left to go. I have the welder, the lift, and then all the light switches to do. The last thing I'm going to be doing is putting all these together in the breaker box here. There's a 125 amp box, and I'll go over this in detail from the breakers here to the bus bar, to the ground bar there, to the neutral bar right back there. You can see that. So that's to come another day. All right, so everything up on the loft except for the light switches are all done. I have that receptacle done. I have those 3, they're done. I'm gonna wait till I do those later. And now I'm going to wire everything here in the shop. So I know for a fact that this is number 1 on that breaker. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then that is it for that breaker. This starts a new one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So all of these down here, I'm going to pigtail every single one of them with the exception of the GFCIs. So what is pigtailing? I'll explain that. So what is pigtailing? All that pigtailing means is you take a strip of wire, this one's too short, has to be in between 6 to 8 inches for National Electric Code, but you take a strip of wire and instead of going straight from receptacle to receptacle, you have a connector in between them. These are the ones I'm going to be using. I bought this 50 pack from Menards, and I'll do a quick tutorial here to show you exactly what I mean. So in order to pigtail, obviously you're going to need your wire. So you can either cut it with a utility knife, or what I like to do, I go real gentle and I wiggle it. Okay, right there. Don't be too harsh on it. Now you move that around just a little bit. I've broken the jacket right here, and you can just slide it off, okay? Now get rid of this, and that should come off pretty easy.
Alrighty. Here is our hot, ground, and neutral. Neutral is also referred to as the common. So, all that I'm going to do, I'm going to strip right here. Okay. I'm going to strip right here. Okay. Then, from these little Wago connectors, all that I do is I pop one of these in like that. I shut the connector so it's tight in there, and then I have the other end of this go to a receptacle. I'll do one right here as an example. It'll make more sense. Okay, my wires are cut and stripped. I'll take each connector, pop. Now for each junction box, I'm going to have 1, 2, 3 connectors. One for my hot, ground, and neutral. So all that I have to do, remember, in North America, we bend the hot up and don't forget to kick it. And I'll make him just a little bit shorter. There it goes, better. Then the neutral, we have to go down. And kick it. The ground, we do the same thing as the neutral. Kick it. Now for our receptacle, we only have 3 connectors. Hot, ground, neutral, that's it. So all that I'm going to do is pop these on. Connector here, connector here, connector here. Now these terminals on the bottom, I always like to make them tight because that's a hazard. If you leave them open, they're always jiggling. Say something gets inside that J box and hits that current. At least that's my opinion. So this is what it looks like outside of the J box. There's going to be other wires that go into these. So these are just the wires going to the receptacle here. So there's going to be one ground that goes to here, that's incoming. There's going to be another ground that goes downstream. Just like the neutral, one incoming, one downstream. The hot, one incoming and one downstream. I think you guys get it. It'll make more sense when we're over there working, so let's hop to it. So I found out last night that my butter zone for my pigtail wires on this 12 gauge that I'm using, my butter zone is right at 6 inches. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut plenty of strips of 6 inches for here. I'm only doing 4 because remember, on 6 plugs and to be code compliant, you have to have a GFCI at number 1. And then your final one is just the end of the wire. So it doesn't matter if you have that one pigtailed or not. So the 4, they're actually right there, are the ones I'm going to pigtail. So I pretty much beat this horse dead last night. I doubt you guys want me to go through it again. So I'm just gonna go all the way down and you'll just watch me in the montage when I do that. This is one that I prepped already. So you see just the 3 coming out, electrical taped. Make sure you put these 2 bolts in on the top and the bottoms right here. So with that being said, let's hop to it.
that's all 4 done, and let's get to putting them in the J boxes. You'd think somebody would have said, hey, this is fatter wire, let's let these little bolts come out a bit farther, but no. There we go.
I am Dada, that's right.
First things first, I'm going to electrical tape him right here for that ground. Now, this is where some people are going to agree or disagree with me. In my opinion, it's a lot easier to do this right here. That's my incoming power. That is my downstream power. Okay. This is my incoming neutral. This is my outgoing neutral. Okay. This is my incoming ground. And now all that I do is I have the receptacle from the example earlier, and I just pop him into him, like that. I put him into him, like that. And I put the ground into him. And that's it, I'm done. All that I have to do is take all these wires, shove them in the J box, then I'm done. Now, to me, that is a million times easier than doing the whole song and dance with what I had to do with all of the rest of them. Now, neither way is wrong, I'll say, but this, in my opinion, saves time. It's actually better for each receptacle and the circuit, because if something ever happens to this receptacle, if it gets damaged or broken, etc., then it won't affect any of the other power for all of the other receptacles on the same circuit in the breaker. So basically, these are all in parallel when you do this. And when you put them all on these terminals here, that puts them all into series. Some people think it's easier because if you have 3 receptacles, one here, and one here, then if you have a problem with number 2 or number 3, you know it's number 2. Now, the other way, if I've got parallel like this, and I've got a problem with one of them, that problem is isolated to that receptacle, and it's nothing else. This is just my opinion. I'm going to do all of them this way except the GFCIs. So let's hop to it. This is what I like to do. If you're an electrician, put a comment below to say if you pigtail whenever you put receptacles in. I do it almost every time. It's just my style and it's what I like to do. I put electrical tape over these as well, so there's basically no way I can have a short or anything touching on the inside. So let me know what you think. This is just how I do it. Now the downside to doing this is you do have a little extra wire that you have to take care of when you're pushing these back inside your J-box, depending on how big of a J-box you have. And that's the problem with this 12 gauge, it really doesn't like to bend. You know, it seems like my wires are just too long. It seems like these 2 are too long, and that these 2 are too long. So if I just trim each of these by, looks to be about 2 inches, Yeah, so I'm gonna trim my incoming and my downstream on my hots and my neutrals and see how that helps. Okay, I think that might have done the trick for me there. Hey guys, sorry my battery died, but if you look right here, I have him done, I have him done, him done, him done, and him done. So this is the last one for this actual breaker. So after this one, I'm calling it a night. It's 9 o'clock on a Friday. So since this one is the end of the circuit, there's only 3 wires, hot, neutral, ground, that's it. And you can see right there, there's nothing else in that little J box. So when you get to the end, if you have pigtailed all the rest of them, then you just do this one regular. So just as you normally would. Just like that. And remember, if you only have 3 wires going to your receptacle, best practice, at least in my opinion, for these bottom 2 terminals here, just go ahead and tighten them all the way. You're lined up. Can I scratch that? Yeah, it's a little mark from the electrical tape. All right. It is 9:10 on a Friday night, and I think it's ready to eat dinner and go to bed. So for now, I've got half of the loft done. I'll do the other half and I'll take you back. All right, good morning, folks. So it's the next day. I got that one done, that one done, that one done, that one done, that one done. And this is the end of that breaker. So those 6 are on one, and then these 6 right here. So this is where I actually start with my other circuit right here. That's gonna be my GFCI, then all the rest of those are just gonna be plain plugs. All right, so everything in my shop area down here is all done. So these 6 took me about an hour and a half. These 6 just took me an hour. This is for my welder, that's for my car lift. To pass inspection, I'm just gonna put a cover plate on both of those. Then I have to do 2 switches there. I have 2 switches up there, and I have 3 switches here. I'm gonna have 1 lantern there, and there's 1 lantern on both sides of the door. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm basically just gonna take one of those ceiling boxes and just thread that back through, and then put a cover plate on it, because that is my 10-3 wire for my garage heater, and I don't have my garage heater yet. It's currently early April, and it's not cold. It's getting warmer, of course. So yeah, I'm getting there. I'm about done. Oh, whoops, I forgot. Up there, you can see those right there. I've got to do both of those, and those will just take me probably 5 minutes a piece. But we are getting there. Hardest ones to do were these up on the high ceiling, and that is a 16 by 12 garage door from the actual floor here to that high ceiling. I believe that is 23 feet. So it was a little sketchy for me being up there to get that done, but that's why I did those first. So, all right, let's get to what I've left. All right, So I just did a quick look at the switches to see how he wired it. And I've only got 3 receptacles left to do. 1, 2, 3. These are just going to be for my ceiling shop lights. But look at that. I mean, wow. You can just barely see that J-box opening. So I'll cut all that up. These are only 14 gauge wire. You know, the LED bulbs from shop lights, they don't take hardly any power. So these are just going to be 15 amp 125s right here. So I'll go ahead and get that done. And then we are on to switches. All right, so I have 1, 2, 3 done for my lights. And for me, it is lunchtime. I'll see you when I'm back. So this is my light switch box that is up on my loft. So if I pull this out and I pull this out, now you can clearly see I've got 3 wires here, and I've got no neutrals, because if you look right here, if you look right there, all of the neutrals are all wire nutted together. Same with the black. Now, you look here at the right and you see 3 different colors. From left to right, it is red, black, and purple. Now that's actually a white that he put purple marker on. So I'll explain real quick what the electrician thought, and this is pretty clever. So what the electrician's doing, since he didn't want to run another whole breaker, he is borrowing power to run other lights from this right here. Now I looked at the other boxes and I did see a purple all the way down there by my door. So what that tells me is this purple is an outgoing wire and the red is an incoming wire. The black is just a plain black, as they always are, it's a hot. Now this one, it's going to be the same thing. So I've got a hot and a hot, okay? And it's just going to run the power through. So this is a 4-way switch, and they're kind of finicky and clever on how they work. So the brass, that's the incoming power, okay? And the black, that is the outgoing power. Now when you look at the other side, you see the same thing. So incoming and outgoing, but this will only be hot while that's up, okay? Now, the incoming will always come to it, and the incoming will always come to it. But when this is turned off, this will still send power out, because that's the point of this switch. It's working as a pass-through. This terminal right here, it's off. This one's still hot. That's the purpose of these, really. So you don't have to add extra outlets or extra breakers or extra switches to get power where you want it. So once again, the electrician was pretty clever on how he put all of this together. So it's a little difficult. I can't explain all of it right now, but I'm going to put this together and then hopefully it'll all make sense once I'm all done here. Yeah, see that purple marker that he put on that. In reality, this is supposed to be a neutral wire usually, but he's not using it as that because this is AC, and AC current flows both ways, obviously. All right, that one's done. And we're back. So it's actually really cold and rainy today. So I'll try to get this done as fast as I can because number one, cold wires don't like to bend, and number two, my skin doesn't like cold either. It's about 40 degrees out. So this is going to be just a regular switch, one hot coming to it, one hot going away in the ground. This, same thing. This is technically going to be a three-way because this red wire that you see right here, that is going to be a traveler wire to go downstream. Now remember, this purple right there, a little hard to see, you can see it right there, that purple, that is actually tied together here on this nut, and it goes together with all the other hots. So it's getting power from here to go up there to those switches. So let's go ahead and get this done. So from just checking the wires where it's routed to, this is going into there to that nut. That's where it's getting its power. And here is going upstream. So this is going to my lights, most likely. And remember, on these four-way switches, if you just have a regular, just like this, it's going to be your power to and your power from. So incoming and downstream. These two right here, I'm just going to screw them all the way in because they're not used and not needed. This is 14 gauge, so it's really easy to bend. Whoops. So he's my incoming power right here. He's a bit too long, so I'll shove it back a little. Now my final one here. Let's see if I can check where what came from. From somewhere. So he is my traveler wire. You are my incoming here. So it means you are gonna be my hot. There we go. Gotta get some tension on that. All right, when you're all done, double check these are all tight. Just a good little twist. Don't have to make it death tight, just a good snug. Let's pop them back in, going from left to right. These wires are a lot easier to push than the 12 gauge. Alrighty. And don't get them death tight, just make sure you can snug them up a little bit. If you already have your wall plate cover, then get it out of the plastic and try to shift it, see if it'll fit. Now, since I already pre-centered these, it's a lot easier to get these in now. So now I'll go ahead and I'll snug all these up exactly how they are, and then I can pop this on really easily. Trying to make sure they don't move. Let's see if that still works or if I have to move anything. Shift it a little bit. So if I've got those two on, he needs to go a bit to the right, like that. If I've got him, it looks like that'll work. So I'll tighten him up just a little bit more. Alrighty, second to last one, done.
And as you can see, I'm all done. Those two are done up there as well. The light bulbs are out so my wife can paint up there. I've got every single thing here done. Both blanks are up. This will be for the car lift that I'm getting. That's for my welder. All of these are all done. The only thing I have left to do is that. Oh joy. Now this isn't going to be too hard, and I'm well aware this right here isn't up to code and it's a real janky job. The only reason that I did that is just so I could troubleshoot right here. I tried to put a switch in here, but the electrician used this as just a junction box to make some terminations and just to make a couple hot connections, because that right there runs the wire for these three here. So those are going to be for my shop lights, and I just needed to put a blank on this after I put everything together. That was it. So let's go ahead and get cracking on this. So I do feel obligated to say this. I'm not an electrician. This is just my opinion. You do anything out of this video, that's at your own risk. It's on you to do your own research. So this is just for entertainment purposes only. That being said, let's see if it's live. Now, anyone that has a brain will know that something is live, right? So that is actually this 15 amp breaker right here. And if I turn this off, and if I do this, now there's no light. Now I do this, and the light's back on. So obviously this bus bar is still hot, and this will go red if it's still hot. Right there, see? That's still hot. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go in my house and I'm going to kill the 125 amp breaker that goes to this sub panel. I'll be right back. Alright, so the breaker is turned off from my main panel in my house to this panel right here. So when I touch, it's going to stay green. I mean, nothing's happening. I can take metal anything and touch that. I mean, nothing's going to happen. The whole thing's dead, okay? These two hots right here, they're dead, nothing. Now, one thing that I did do is the electrician, he had this 20 amp 12 gauge right here. He had that all the way down here on this breaker. And then he had this ground right here. He had this ground wire all the way at the top, right underneath. So this is just my opinion on how to wire things and what the right way is to do it, the wrong way, etc., etc. If you have your breaker up here, you have your ground on the very top one here. If you have your second breaker here, you have the ground on your second screw here for your ground bar. I mean, that's just common sense to me. That's how I would do it. But some people that are in trades, they just get the job done so it'll work. The reason that I usually do things myself is because I want it perfect every time, and I want it to be easy to troubleshoot if I'm ever going to have to go through something, or if I'm ever going to have a problem with X thing. That's just me. All right, I got a light so you guys can see a bit earlier. Now, to certain people, this will look a bit intimidating. I have wires everywhere, I've got breakers, etc., etc. So, an old mentor of mine, he told me, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So, what I've seen some electricians do, just grab a nail, about 2.5 inch, probably 3 inches best, find a piece of wood. There we go. Just grab your wires and hang them there for the moment. All right, one at a time, one at a time. So I'm gonna take all my 12 gauge, pop it over here for the moment. Best practice to kill all the breakers that are on. Now, let's work on this 15 amp right here. Remember, use a Robertson size 2. Robertson size 2. These out. That's my hot, and that's my neutral. And let's work on this ground right here. Once again, it doesn't matter what I touch in here. I mean, everything's dead. So you should never work on a hot panel. Doesn't mean I haven't seen electricians do it, but it's just best practice to have everything off when you're working on it. It's also an OSHA violation if you're caught doing that and you're a tradesman. Okay, so what I need is I just need my hot to go to here. I need my ground to go to number 1 right here. My number 1 is right there, right underneath that big ground. And I need my neutral to go right there. I'm gonna put him at number 1. So I'm gonna have to cut these at different lengths, okay? So when I'm cutting them at different lengths, you need to be aware of what you're going through on your wires. I mean, I can't just snip the whole thing and then, oh, whoops, now I gotta do a splice. You're not allowed to do splices inside of panels. To my understanding, that's a violation of NEC National Electric Code. What you can do is you can put a J-box here and then bring your wire into the sub-panel or your breaker box, your load center, however you call it. But you cannot have splices inside of a panel. Once again, that's an NEC violation. So what am I gonna do? I'm going to be real gentle right here on that little insulation sheathing. Okay, I'll start pulling. There we go, there we go. Just rip the whole thing down. But something about wiring, just like wood, once you cut it, it's cut. You can't go back and add anything more. I mean, you're removing the material and you can't put it back. So that's why you have to be really, really careful when you're doing this. And your very first ones, I like to push them to the back, kind of like that. So here, I have to put him right inside of there. I'm gonna leave some extra slack. Probably about there will be good. Now this is just for my hot. My other ones, my ground and my neutral, are gonna be different lengths. So once again, just because you have your breaker here, your ground here, your neutral here, you have all different lengths on your wire. None of them are the same. Or they could be the same, but likely no. Okay, I'm gonna give me some extra slack here. I'll go ahead and cut right here. And this is my only 14 gauge in this entire panel, as this is just on the lights. Now I take him and I put him right here. And what I'm doing, there's a little slot right there that you put it in. You don't need much, that's maybe 3/8 of an inch. And you just pop them in. Then
and you tighten it down. Okay. Now, that's my hot. Now what about my neutral that I have to run? He's gonna have to go back here. Now once again, I'm gonna put him at position number 1. That is right here on the neutral bar, all the way up top. Do it about there. Now this does give me a chance to show you something. I don't know if you can tell. Right there, that's a curved wire, obviously from this. So you cannot put anything onto one of these terminals that are curved, or you're not supposed to. So make sure you straighten out that wire and make that straight as an arrow before you pop it in any of these terminals here. Now you, to you right there. Okay, now what I'm going to do is a gentle twist. And there we go. That's how you do your hot and your neutral. Now for your ground here, I'm going to go right to number 2 right here, right underneath that big ground bar. So let's go ahead and rip him off. My bad, ground rod that is. Now remember, I want to put him right about here to that one right there. So I'm going to cut him right here. Now once again, once you cut wire, it's gone. There's nothing you can do about it. So be really careful about how much you cut off and sneak up on whatever length you need. Because if you just cut too much, you're gone, you're screwed, you're done. You have to rerun this entire wire again. Try and make sure none of these touch. You don't want them touching and creating another circuit on you. And that's it. That's how you do just one breaker. We have our hot right to the breaker itself. We have our neutral on the neutral bar and our ground on the ground bar. Now every single plug from this breaker that I check with my tester right here, everything is going to show that's correct because this is the right way to do it. Label everything when you're putting it in so there's no guesswork. So right there, I just labeled that, lights and switches. This is what the electrician wired. These left 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the electrician's name that did my rough-in was named Mason. So Mason, good on you for doing that. Now, I doubt you want to see that again. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 more to do. And then I've got the double poles here. So these are all single pole and these are all double pole. And I'll do a quick speed up of me doing all these and go. That right there, this is exactly why you sneak up on them, because this one right here, this hot that I'm putting into this 20 amp breaker, that is just a little short, as you can see. So that's exactly why you're really slow, really methodical, and you're really gentle about how short you cut these. Okay, got one more 20 amp to do, and I'm done. About that. That might do the trick right there. And hey, I figured it out. Before I go any farther, I'm just gonna relocate this one to the front, because I don't want some ground in front of it and some behind, etc., etc. I want them all in one. Let's just switch him around. All right, that's routed a little better. I'm happier with that. Only got one more here to do. All right, guys, sorry about that. My battery just died on my GoPro. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right when I get this little label on here, then I'll tighten this down. That'll be done. So to do 1, 2, 3, 4. That took me about an hour. So probably about 12 minutes each. All right, these are all done. Now let's go to the double pole here. That right there is probably easiest for you guys to see. So what you'll probably notice is that this one and this one are the exact same, but this one right here has an extra wire in it. So this is 10 gauge, 10 gauge, 10 gauge. This is 10 gauge 2, where the neutral acts as a second hot for both of these. Now this is single phase, either 208 or 220 volt. This, the neutral is actually a neutral, and there are 2 hots. So this is dedicated 240 right here. And once again, this is all single phase. And you can see right there, he labeled that for the lift. Now, I've got these, and one is for my welder. The other one is for my garage heater, because it's gonna get cold here in the winter around Cincinnati. But once again, guys, these two, the neutral acts as a second hot. And on this one, there is a black and a red. Those are the dedicated hots. Then regular neutral, regular ground, okay? So just like normal business, I'll call it. Yeah, look at all of this drywall mud everywhere. Okay, I'll do this one first, because he is at the very back. It's the easiest thing for me to do. Okay. There we go. That's better. All right. And which one are you? One thing I'm a big fan about the electrician is because he labeled everything. This is for the, it says right there, you can see, this is for the heater. So this is for my garage heater. And I'm gonna pop him right here. Now, the other thing, since the neutral acts as the second hot, I'm going to put some red tape on that other neutral when I pop him in for that other pole right here. So once again, I've got a neutral and a hot, and the neutral acts as the second hot to up the voltage, okay? And then the ground just goes to ground back here, just like usual. Start going about here. There we go. Move that big fat wire. All right. Okay, now that's easy. Now I know a million people have been saying this whole time, why don't you just take your utility knife and go at the top and rip it down? I just don't like doing that because I can rip a hole right through this cover and insulation over the wire, so that's why I don't like doing it. Gonna try it here. Nice and easy, gentle, gentle. There we go. Got the whole thing, good. Good. Okay, rip. That is fat wire. To be honest with you guys, I have personally never wired up 10 gauge before, so this is a new one for me. Just like anything else, slow and easy wins the race. Big fat 10 gauge. That'll do it. Okay, now let's hop to my first 30 amp breaker right here. Obviously I don't need these anywhere near as long as they are. Oh, good God. Gotta be honest, I don't think there's a difference between if I put the black here or the white here or vice versa. So I'm just going to put the white on top and the black on bottom here. Okay, you gotta cut these one at a time because they're so thick. That ought to be money right there. That ought to be money. Now, once again, right here, I'm gonna put some red tape to show whoever's working on this in the future that's a hot. And right here, going to get just a piece of sheathing to say garage heater on it. Label everything, makes your life a lot easier in the future.
Okay. Alright, hot on him.
There we go. Not perfect, but it gets the point across. There we go. Push into the back like that. Yep. Nikes. Well, he's too long. So now I gotta rip him off and do him again. Try that. Not perfect, but it gets the point across. Okay, now the next one's gonna be the same thing. I think the next one is my welder. All right, this one here isn't labeled, but right here, this does have lift on it, so this is for my car lift. And from how these are routed, I'm gonna have to do this one first. Once again, this guy has two dedicated hots. The dedicated hots are the black right here and the red right here. Then it has a regular neutral and a regular ground, just like all the rest of these. And this one's for my car lift. You know what? I've given up. I'm just gonna cut this down the middle with my utility knife. Oh no. No. All right, well I started there. Yeah, because I need a strip to write what I need on here, so I just won't go any higher. Well, this is such a fat sheathing. My normal south wire strippers won't even go around the whole thing. That is a fat 10-3. There we go. All right, I got my strip, so I can just go through the middle on the rest of this here. Okay. Geez, SuperGuy, this is a whole lot faster. Yeah, it is. There we go. There we go. All right, gotcha. Alrighty. Bunch of big fat wires. A lot of big fat wires. Okay. And let's get my ground routed over here. Let him go about down to there. Wow, I might need new strippers here, because I think this big fat 10 gauge is really dulling my south wire strippers. So I might have to go pick up a new pair after this. switch over to my old Craftsman here. Yep, that's a lot easier. Gotta be my south wire is just completely wearing out on me. I've gotten plenty of use out of it over the years. Okay. All right, neutral time. I don't know if I can route him behind all that. I'll try. I don't need a whole lot of wire. Yeah, I'll trim him right about there. Keep going. That is actually too short. So I wanted this wire to be all the way up against the wall, and then I bring it over. So it's just a bit too short. That's why you go really gentle and slow when you sneak up on that, because if you don't, then this happens. And if you, once again, are too short on wire in your panel, you're screwed. There's nothing else you can do. You got to run a whole new wire. Okay. Now let's get to our hots. All right, and both of these, once again, I don't think it matters for the order, so I'm gonna put red on top and black on the bottom, and it's gonna put lift on that sheathing. Guys, I am standing in just a graveyard of wire here. Yeah, it does hurt me a little bit to just throw all that away, but with this kind of job, that's just the nature of the beast. There's nothing you can do about it. That'll do it right there. There we go, perfect. Okay, and we got one left. Now you will notice I did not put a little tag here that says hot, because this is a red. A red in electrician's terms always means a hot wire. So if you see that, you already know it's a hot, and if you don't know that, you should not be in a panel anyway. So it's on you, is what I'll call it. All right, final one. Missing my nail right now. Should have left that thing in. All right, tuck that up and out of the way. Final one going to right there. Okay. All right, now two, then I'm done. Yeah, I'll do the same thing, put the white here and the black here just to stay consistent. I think that right there, that is money. All right, that's money. I'd take him, just tuck that behind it. Hey, that's perfect. All right, now, very last one. That's money. All right, one last label and I'm all done. There we go, that works. Alrighty, that is one panel completely wired. Now what you're supposed to do is put the cover right here back on, but I mean, as you can see, I've got all this drywall mud everywhere. Yeah, all right here, so I'm gonna have to clean that up, but what I'll do is I'll go around and I'll check all of my receptacles, and then after that I've got to clean up. But yep, this panel's all done, and doesn't that look beautiful? Loft looks a bit different right now. So now you have to test your receptacles once they're in. So this is just a simple fluke receptacle tester. Remember, all of these are in series up here. That's the end, and then it goes all the way to here as the first one in that entire circuit. Down in the loft, those are all pigtailed. Remember, I showed you that. Now when I click GFCI right there, it's going to trip that. because it sends a fake fault. All I do, I put him in there and he tells me, yep, good, yep, good. Here's the other little error signals. And when I push this, you'll hear a click. Okay? And this just detected a fault. So you see that red light, all I do is I push that, and right back here, we are back to green. I can do that for any of these in this entire circuit. Now downstairs, we can go ahead and check those too. Looks a bit different in here, doesn't it, guys? Yeah, sorry, I'm filming this out of order. But remember, that's number 1 on this entire circuit. I plug him in right there. All of these will show green because we did them the right way. When I push that button, right there. There it goes. All I do is reset it. Same for this one. See if I can get the whole thing in frame here. When I push this, you'll see that go red. Ding ding. I can check any of them that I did, but as long as you follow my steps on wiring, they'll all be the same. Once again, don't forget to label all of your breakers. All of mine are numbered. All the doubles, same. Heater, lift, welder. Just the plain lights. Shop left, shop right. The loft, that is the electrical symbol for receptacle right there for electricians. And that's the garage door circuit. You can see I passed inspection right there, April 11th. Right here, that's the 125 amp double pole breaker going straight to my sub panel from that 2-watt. Hey look, the garage door works now. So it does take a while to go up and down, but that is 16 by 12, so it is a pretty good size. Let's go ahead and drop it. I'm gonna be honest, my truck makes the garage look small. I wonder who would agree if I told them this is a small garage. Echo! Alright, so how much did I save by doing all of this wiring by myself? So the electrical finish quote from the electrician was in between $3,500 to $400. And I don't know where they came up with that number, but I can tell you, absolute hand on a stack of Bibles, that it cost me less than $600 in material to do this. So they must have a really high labor rate or their dispatch rate, whatever that is. But I can tell you right now, this is the most valuable tool if you want to get into doing electricity by yourself. Once again, it's in the description below, just like all of my videos. Hey, if you enjoyed the video and you learned something, give it a thumbs up. If there was something that I did and you don't know why I did it, when I did it, or how I did it, leave a comment below. If you haven't already, consider subscribing, and I only put out content that helps out the fellow DIYer. Once again, be super today, and I'll catch you later.